This is Leif Erikson, and he found America. You know how people today dream about moving somewhere warm, like Spain, Italy, or Bali? Well, over 1,000 years ago, the Vikings had the same idea, except their dream destination wasn't the Mediterranean. No, they packed their longships and sailed into the North Atlantic, chasing new lands, new lives, and new stories. But why did they decide to move out in the first place? Well, imagine living in Scandinavia back then. You have long freezing winters, short, not that warm summers, food, land, not really. And neighbors? Yeah, also armed, hungry, and not really into sharing. It's a paradise on earth. So, what do you do when home kinda sucks? Obviously, you go visit your neighbors, to raid and steal. And for Vikings, that meant hopping across the sea to England. And let's just say, the English didn't exactly roll out the red carpet. Instead, they rolled out priests, gods, and monasteries, perfect targets for Viking raids. So, picture this. It's the year 793. You're a peaceful monk on a tiny island called Lindisfarne. You wake up, you pray, you milk a goat. Life is quiet. And then suddenly, you see longships on the horizon. Maybe traders. Next thing you know, your monastery is on fire, your friends are running around screaming, and some giant blonde dude is walking off with your silver candlesticks. Congratulations, you just met the Vikings.
Dun, dun, dun.
So yeah, after thrashing poor Lindisfarne, the Vikings realized England was wide open. Coastlines barely defended, monasteries overflowing with treasure, and rivers cutting deep into the land. That's just perfect for their longships. It was almost unfair, like playing a video game on an easy mode. And Vikings, they were speedrunning it. But hey, this whole Vikings vs England saga, that deserves its own full video. Because trust me, there is a lot of blood, fire, and very angry kings in that story. For now, let's get back to our main journey. Raiding was fun and all, but at some point, the Vikings wanted more than just quick smash and grab jobs. Some of them actually wanted to settle down, own land, raise families, and not live in a constant fear of the next angry king chasing them out. And here is where the story gets interesting. Now, there was a genius that said, "Hey guys, you know what? Let's leave Denmark, where it's already cold and miserable, and go farm rogues in the middle of the ocean, where it's even more cold and miserable." Did the Vikings have a concept of the further north you go, the colder it gets? Well, no. So they went north. And they built new boats, sleek, fast longships that could cut through waves like knives. And as for navigation, well, they didn't exactly have Google Maps, but according to some sources, they used a brand new technology, a sunstone. Basically, a crystal that could locate the sun even when the sky was cloudy. Think of it as the medieval version of a compass, but way more magical looking. Armed with these ships and this shiny rock, the Vikings pointed their prows west. And that's how they ended up in Iceland. And there they found something pretty unusual. Land. Empty land. No armies, no peasants already farming every square inch of soil. Just volcanoes, hot springs, and a whole lot of sheep. For people sick of overcrowded Scandinavia, this was basically a paradise. Well, a cold, windy, sheep-filled version of a paradise, but still. And the best part, there was no king. And they liked it. And then they said, "You know what? Screw monarchy. Instead of crowning some dude and kissing his ring, let's build a system where local chieftains have power, but nobody rules over everyone." It was like a medieval democracy, except with more axes laying around. This setup became known as the Althing, one of the oldest parliaments in the world. Not bad for a bunch of guys who just a generation earlier were famous for setting monasteries on fire. Oh, and the name, Iceland, it's simple, direct, and accurate. Because, yeah, there's plenty of ice here. And not all of the settlers wanted to get new neighbors. So they didn't really try to create an attractive brand image. But not all Icelanders were exactly model citizens. Take Erik the Red, for example. A guy with a temper so bad he literally got kicked out of Norway for murder. Then moved to Iceland and killed again. Then got kicked out of there too. So what do you do when every country banned you? Well, if you're Erik, you just discover a new one. So life in Iceland worked for a while, but the Viking spirit didn't just settle down. Some people wanted even more land, more adventure, more opportunities. And when you already sailed into the middle of the Atlantic and survived, what is stopping you from going even further? So under leadership of our Erik, they took a few ships and went even more west. And that's how they found Greenland. And at the beginning, they didn't really like it. But hey, are we backing up here? Hell no. So Erik, the ultimate Viking exile, comes back from his little side quest and says, "Guys, I found this amazing new land. It's green, fertile, beautiful. You're gonna love it." He lied. The place was mostly ice, rocks, and some grass if you squint. But hey, branding works. He called it Greenland, and people actually signed up for the trip. The first settlers landed around 985 and built two main colonies, the Eastern Settlement and the Western Settlement. Don't let the names fool you. Both were tiny, basically clusters of farms hugging the coast, and still they managed to grow crops, raise cattle, and even build churches. At its peak, a few thousand people lived there. Not bad for a frozen wasteland at the edge of the world, but life in Greenland was brutal. Summers even shorter, winters longer, and ice everywhere. Yet somehow the Vikings hang on for centuries. They even traded walrus ivory with Europe, because apparently medieval nobles really loved them. But nothing lasts forever. Trade with Europe dried up and the settlements slowly weathered away. Still, before it all collapsed, the settlers pulled off one last legendary voyage. They sailed even further west. USA, USA. Meet Leif Erikson, son of Erik the Red. His father basically invented the Viking DLC pack called Greenland, and Leif didn't want to stay behind. Around the beginning of 10th century, he decides to sail even further west. And after a rough journey across the Atlantic, he lands in a place that Vikings called Vinland, the land of wine. Now, was it really overflowing with grapes and wine? Probably not. More like berries, wild plants, and a climate way nicer than Greenland. Today we're pretty sure that Vinland was somewhere in Newfoundland, Canada. So apparently Vikings were chilling in North America 500 years before Columbus. But here's the thing, the dream didn't last. The locals were not thrilled about random blood dudes showing up with swords and axes. Add in the supply nightmare of trying to keep a colony alive across the ocean, and Vinland quickly turned into a short-living experiment. Within a few years, the Vikings packed up and left. Or died. We're not really sure. So yeah, the Viking adventure in America didn't last. Too far, too risky, too many locals ready to fight back. Vinland was abandoned, and the sagas turned it into more of a legend than a permanent colony. But let's pause for a second. From tiny villages in Denmark to the volcanoes of Iceland and frozen coasts of Greenland and finally to the shores of North America, the Vikings pulled off one of the wildest migration stories in history. They didn't just raid and burn. Well, at least not always. They explored, settled, and left traces across half the Atlantic. And yeah, Columbus? Cute story. But Leif Erikson beat him by half a millennium. Remember that next time someone tells you about discovering America. And don't forget, we still have the full saga of Vikings versus England. And trust me, that one's going to be bloody. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe, put your thumbs up, and I see you in the next video.